When you called about this horrible witch hunt, that, in all fairness, they've had going against me for years.
Donald Trump always saying the quiet parts out loud, just admitting there that it was Dr. Phil, who's not a licensed doctor, calling him up and saying, you know, I'm going to make this look like it's an impartial, unbiased interview. Come on my show and I will ask you softball questions and just try and solidify your position as the Republican candidate for president, despite the fact that you're a convicted felon.
That's what I'm saying. It's been time and time again. And that was another black letter law that you just don't do.
Dr. Phil's face is a pretty picture because he doesn't obviously want to be exposed as somebody who phoned up Trump and said, come on my show and I'll make this all good for you. But ultimately, that's what he has done. Dr. Phil clearly is a MAGA Republican, is somebody who is completely brainwashed in this idea that white, wealthy men should be allowed to get away with whatever crimes they like, whether it be rape, sexual abuse, or fraud, or in this particular case, making payments to a porn star to ensure that he didn't lose the 2016 election. Election interference, which ironically is what Trump is now calling the case itself. So Dr. Phil and Donald Trump, two perfect examples of an antiquated America, people who don't represent the present or indeed the future, and who are just going to spend the rest of their lives cozying up to each other and bailing each other out. And that's what's so sad about this interview. It's very much a representation of the patriarchy. And as far as I'm concerned, it is not a reflection of how the United States claims to operate. There's a bunch of inconsistencies in what they have to say as well, because, of course, it's very easy for them to convince each other that Donald Trump has done no wrong. And Trump obviously looks up to Dr. Phil. And so if Dr. Phil says that it's bad, then that just doubles down on Trump's view that he is to be exonerated. Makes no sense to me. I'm sure it makes no sense to you or Dr. Phil's viewers either. But still, this is America. This is how these things play out, just like a soap opera.
If you say it was a beautiful day, as I remember it, and it was raining out, we're going to indict you for perjury.
Yeah.
I can't quite believe what I'm hearing. Dr. Phil is trying to justify the fact that Donald Trump's multiple crimes are starting to affect each other whilst in the courtroom. And this is something he says it never happens. Well, of course it never happens, because you never have a defendant in court for a crime who happens to have committed a whole bunch of other crimes that either haven't yet been heard or have already been ruled upon. And so, yeah, there's always going to be some prejudice with Donald Trump because he keeps breaking the law. We haven't even got to the theft of classified documents case yet under the Espionage Act, or overturning the US election and plotting a coup against the United States. I mean, we haven't even got to those yet. So far, we've only dealt with sexual abuse or rape as it was defined, and this one here with a hush money payment to a porn star. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. And yet these two guys are having to just make sense of it, when all they really need to do is say to each other, you know something? I did a bad thing. Yeah, you did a bad thing. And you keep doing it and you can't help it because your whole life has been one of criminality. And the moment you become a public figure and you work in politics and you claim to be a representative of the people, it suddenly becomes our business.
And so I would have loved to have testified. I wanted to. I'm telling you, they had to hold me back. But every lawyer that came, they'd always start to say, by the way, I'm afraid of yours, don't testify.
And then him having 25 friends, that is hard to believe, who over the course of a couple of months said that you mustn't testify because you could say something wrong. Well, yeah, you're going to say something wrong because you have no inner monologue and you're the kind of person that just admits to the crime time and time again. Because you don't have an intellect, you don't have the ability to kind of maintain focus and take instruction because you're a Neanderthal man. And this is what's so frustrating, is that this whining and moaning and complaining that I haven't had a fair trial, you failed to testify. Your friends supposedly told you not to. You took the advice not to testify. That does not mean that you weren't given a fair trial. That means that you chose not to testify. I mean, it's just beggars belief that this is even allowed to be a thing. That somebody like this, who has had so much privilege in their life, being interviewed by somebody else who has had a great deal of success. I mean, why do they have to even do this stuff? Why do they have to drag themselves through it? Why not just go, something? Yeah, I made a mistake. I'm guilty. And just accept the crime and do the time. But no, it's whining and complaining and blaming everybody else, whether it be the judge or the jury or the witnesses. Blame anybody. But there is a failure to recognize that the common denominator in all of these cases is Donald Trump and his inability to go straight, to actually do anything that is good or that benefits other people or that isn't just him saving himself or trying to profiteer for himself or protect himself.
And yet if I do, this guy's he's willing to throw you in jail, okay? This is an appointed judge, acting. He's an acting judge, appointed. And he's willing to throw you, and he's so conflicted.
So much projection going on in this interview, and it's not really an interview, is it? I mean, this is how two guys might talk on the golf course. This should not be on television or on Dr. Phil's channel or whatever it is. I mean, it really is the kind of thing that should be happening behind closed doors, because this is a commiseration conversation. This is Dr. Phil going, oh, wasn't it terrible what they did to you? And Trump going, yeah, wasn't it terrible what they did to me? I mean, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't advance the conversation. It is just two old men moaning about the justice system. The system of justice that is designed and in place to protect everybody under the same laws. And yet here we have these two guys just blowing so much smoke up each other's backsides. It's not a great watch, but at the same time, it really is a reflection of kind of where we're at and why we desperately need to move on.
Well, I have a different question than that how question. My question is why? I know you got a thick skin. You're not one of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. I get that.
I think that's true.
My question is not how do you do it. My question is why do you do it?
Now, Dr. Phil, who has not been a licensed psychologist since 2006, he asks a poignant question. You don't seem to be the kind of person that needs the support of strangers, which is very weird. Because if you're a politician, and especially a president or ex-president, you absolutely do need the support of strangers. That's the whole point of being a president, running for office, is that you convert strangers into voters because you care for them and therefore they care for you. But no, Trump just throws that away. He's now asking, why do you do it? Why do you do it? And it's so obvious. The elephant in the room is that he's doing it because he's trying to get out of jail. He's doing it because he's trying to save his own skin. He's doing it because the alternative to running for president is ending up in prison. And that is not really an option for a coward like Donald J. Trump.
What are we missing here?
Yeah, it makes everybody uncomfortable.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can catch me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel, also on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.